My name is Rosh Sillars. I am the founder and creator of SpyTomorrow.com and the SpyT trading system. What is the average gain of SPY tomorrow? Are there any risks from SpyT trading? What is the worst case scenario? Yeah, I'll repeat the questions. How long has SPY Tomorrow been in operation? 3 years almost exactly. The end of February 2020 is when I started. What inspired the creation of SPY Tomorrow? It came out of a different problem. I had opened up an old trading account that I had had since the early 2000s. My career was going well. I own a media company. I work with algorithms. I do a lot of work with numbers, just the way SPY developed. And anyway, I wanted to start considering my retirement, actually. And so what I did is I opened up that account again. There's actually a little money in it still, and I started trading, and I noticed something. I noticed that, one, the commissions were gone, at least not the way they were before, and I could start experimenting again and using some of my old ideas again. And I ran into some issues related to options, and I wanted to figure out what was it that I was missing. And as I was trying to figure out one problem, I discovered this pattern, and I started experimenting. And that's how SPY Tomorrow began. How long have I been involved in the stock market? Well, kind of what I had mentioned, early 2000s. That's when I started. I've always been an amateur at some level within the stock market, and I've done well. I was a good stock picker, and again, that's why I decided to open up that account looking at retirement. I figured I need to be a little more aggressive investing, and so, last 3 years I've been really involved as I've developed SPY, and I think I just keep getting a little bit better with every trade. I think most people do. What motivated me to create the SpyT system? Failure. I guess that's the best way to put it. When I was going through the SPY process, when things are going well, we're going directional, meaning we'd buy calls, we'd buy puts, and we do really well. I use an example. A year ago, I did 1,000% in about 8 weeks, and that's wonderful. But when things were adjusting, and honestly started really early in the game, SPY Tomorrow would break. But then later on, it would do what I call a fade. It would be working really well, but then it would start fading. And so rather than depend on these calls and puts, which can be really painful if you get 2 or 3 days wrong in a row, which can happen. News can happen anytime. The market can switch anytime. But I thought I needed to develop some sort of a hedge system to protect me as well as the people following SPY. And so that's what I did. So I created SpyT trading out of necessity. What sets SPY Tomorrow apart from other stock services? I don't know. We have a very specific thing. We do an overnight swing trade using a signal, and we're trying to take advantage of that overnight gap. That gap that you see, the market closes at the end of the day, and then it opens up differently in the morning, either up or down, and we're just trying to take advantage of that and using options to amplify it. And so it's really just our system. Is it better? Are there better systems? Perhaps. I don't know. I just know the one that I'm most comfortable with because I created it. And it seems to be working well for people. Again, over time, there have been times where it wasn't working as well, and there are other times it's just roaring. I think now with the update to the whole system, when I updated the structure of the algorithm to what I refer to as the heart, and then I applied a different data set, that combination so far has been, honestly beyond my hopes. I think if we can keep up at this level, there are trading systems that are 80, 85% correct, but the downside is huge, and when you make profit, you don't make a lot of profit. And so that's the problem here. And with SPY-T, when you make a lot, and you're right, you make a lot. I mean, when you're right, you can make a lot. We're talking, today I did 141%. If the worst case scenario is that I would have lost 100%. So I definitely am making more than what I could lose. Obviously, there are days you make 50%, 20%, 40%. And most of the time we don't lose more than 50%, but you know, it can go more than that. But if you're right way more than you are wrong, well, you can see how the numbers can add up pretty quickly. What improvements have I made since its inception? Well, I have continuously tested different data sets and different algorithms and calculations since the first days. And I have continuous tests running right now. I know that, the data set that I've been using for the last couple of years was a data set that I developed when I was trying to figure out why SPY was breaking. Well, I spent a summer figuring that out, and it's called the switch. I figured out how to apply the switch, when to apply the switch, and it does it automatically now. But I broadened out my data set during that time. And it turns out I really didn't need to do that. So after I found the switch, it was still working well, but it wasn't like those early days where it was 80, 85, 90% correct. I really wondered where those days went. And I would pull together a data set, and then, as I said, it wouldn't break anymore, but it would do this fade. And so I created the heart and took the best of all those calculations I had done for a good 3 years. And then I thought of it, I said, what about those smaller data sets that I was using that worked so well in the past? And so I used them, I tested them for a while. And you know, I said, okay, if it goes well this month, because it seemed to be going well, if it goes well for the month, maybe I'll switch over. Well, it was going so well that by mid-month I switched over. And yeah, it's still early in the game and I can only back test so far. But I mean, since I launched it to the group and to the public, it hasn't been wrong yet. Knock on wood, and we know it will be wrong at some point, but it's been a really good start. What challenges have I faced developing SPY Tomorrow? Just keep going. I mean, when something breaks and you know you have people who are depending on you and hey, this is working great, and now it's not. You know, we've had some really good people in the SPY Tomorrow community that during the down times, you know, they held on as long as they could, but eventually they just kind of faded off and said, hey, you know, thank you, this doesn't seem to be working. And it did happen. That did happen a few times. I felt bad about that. And, you know, honestly, I want it to be, this is a sincere effort. This has always been a sincere effort. I noticed something that I referred to as pressure at the end of the day that often correlated to how the market opened the next day. And I spent 3 years developing different ways to approach that pressure. And I think I have a great combination now, and I hope to get some of those people back, quite honestly, because we had some great people who are benefiting, but again, you know, through those ups and downs over 3 years, you know, not everybody's going to hold on. And I don't blame them one bit. I really don't. It's not, it's one of those things that I probably would have given up to if I didn't see what I saw in the data and how it worked. I just had to find the right combination for consistency. That was the key, was keep going until I found the consistent way to approach it. Because I could go for a streak for a long period and then, you know, there would be some issues, but I think we're really good. I think I still have some more tests to do because I'm now using this smaller set, this different style of data that I used in the early days. I have to probably recalibrate the heart, the new algorithm structure down the road. But right now it's working just fine, so there's no rush. What is your customer support? Well, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, we have a chat room, we have a direct Zoom connection if you want to connect with me and ask me questions if you're a member. And most people connect with me via email if there's a problem, because sometimes when people sign up, they don't get their registration information, the link, and so I have to send it to them manually, and then they sign up that way. But I'm pretty responsive by email, and again, we have that chat area, and that works very well. But I always make it very clear, I am not a financial advisor. I work with numbers, I work with algorithms, I understand a lot of things, but that does not make me a professional financial advisor. So I don't give members financial advice or individual how should you play that. I can point them in the right direction. I can point them to videos and resources that we have on the site as well as outside of the site that can help answer their questions from very possibly people who are more qualified than I am. But ultimately, any customer service is really about the functionality of maybe the SPY T trades. What are they? Fixing something that may not work, making sure that they're able to get everything that they have signed up for. What is the worst case scenario? The worst case scenario for us is the IV crush. Because especially if you're doing a SPY T trade, you have a call and a put, and if option premiums are pumped up high because of an economic report or earnings or something like that, and the next day they fall, SPY could be right and you could still lose money. That happened to a number of people, including myself, in early January, where we didn't really notice or call out the possibility of a crush coming, and yeah, a lot of us lost some money. It was pretty bad. But if we keep an eye out and we notice that, hey, premiums from yesterday are up greatly, we can often avoid those scenarios. But it is the IV crush that really hurts SPY T trading specifically. And of course, we need to be about, well, for sure, 55%, 60% correct for SPY T trading. If we're doing directional, such as calls and puts, then we really need to be 75% correct consistently to not really crush the directional trader in a sense, because 2 or 3 days in a row, especially if you have large position sizes, can be very painful. That's why we definitely recommend you be very conscious of your position size, even when things are going well. Because that's another thing that can happen, is that we're right day after day, and people get more and more confidence and put more and more, a higher percentage of their portfolio in, and then you get a couple wrong days and it just wipes away their profits if they're not doing it correctly and sticking with the game plan. So the biggest thing for sure is our own personal emotion. That's the one thing that can be a game changer and put you in the wrong direction. But technically, definitely the IV crush. Do we have educational materials? Absolutely. I, of course, have the YouTube channel. I'm developing podcasts. I have special information for members only. The courses that I create for members, they get them free as part of their membership. I try to give as much value to the members as possible, quite honestly, because I think I can't do this without them. It helps me honestly justify. Yes, SPY trading. I guess if I never had SPY tomorrow, I would still do the SPY trading because it's been so beneficial to me. But I also know not everybody can read my mind and how I think things should go. So I try to lay out as much information as possible. I give a lot of it free, and I also give special stuff to our members. Are there any performance records? Yeah, I keep an archive. I keep an archive on the front page. Last couple months, 2-3 months, I keep that available so people can see how we've done, the ups and the downs over the last few months. And then I keep a permanent record within SPY Tomorrow so people can go all the way back and see the great times and the tough times. And they can compare how we approach things at different points in time. I think I try to keep it as open and as transparent as possible because honestly, I want people to be successful. I think trust is really important when you're doing something like this, especially when you're dealing with other people's money. Now, I don't trade other people's money, but I have in some ways influence based on my writings and my videos and so forth, and hey, the signal that I produce each day from my algorithm. I mean, I don't make the signal, I just put the data in and the algorithm tells us, but still, I feel personally responsible, and so I want people to know what they're getting into before they even start. Are there data issues or glitches? Sure, there could be any time. I mean, I can't guarantee anything because some of the data is put in by hand. The process has been automated once we put the data in. However, anything could happen, and that's why I can't make any guarantees, whether hourly, and it usually happens during the day. It rarely happens for the last overnight reading, but sometimes, you know, glitches do happen, and I just can't guarantee that it'll be there. But we've gotten pretty good at it, so we haven't had many issues in quite a while. But it's also third-party data. So most of the glitches in the past, at least, you know, maybe the past year, we've had a couple, and that came from third-party data not updating in time, things like that. So, you know, there are pieces to the puzzle that could go down, and so we always have to be prepared for that. Does Spy Tomorrow offer assistance to new traders? I mean, if you're in Spy Tomorrow, you should have some experience trading. That's the bottom line. I can't show you what to trade. You have to do that yourself. I can only provide the data and educational materials around it, but I can't say this is what you do today and this is what you do tomorrow. You have to have a sense, or even how to buy a call or a put and so forth. You have to have some experience. I would never recommend somebody who doesn't have any experience trading options to join Spy Tomorrow. My better recommendation, if you're really curious, is to buy the course. It's only $79, 2.5 hours of information, and then you can move on if it's right for you. You know, test it. I highly recommend people paper trade and test the system before they even become a member. And then there are reasons to become a member, but to get started, you really don't have to become a member. What is the average gain of Spy Tomorrow? It really depends on what system you're using. I have some studies and charts within Spy Tomorrow that members can see what we averaged out within those within those studies. For example, the Spy TB was like 18% gains and say 3% loss on average. But you know, it really just depends on when you captured that data. But for the most part, it's been consistent. If you're going directional, you know, anywhere from 20 to 200%. I mean, again, as I mentioned, I did 141% today, and that was wonderful. Yesterday was 85%, and then the day before was like 20%. We've been right for about 8 days in a row now, but say my last loss was probably about 30% of the trade. Not the entire account. Remember, we're position sizing appropriately, but for that trade, I lost 20%, just like I made 140% on that trade, not on the entire account. But, you know, it represented a good percentage on the entire account. Who is the ideal Spy Tomorrow member? Again, somebody who wants to take control of their portfolio. They don't want to day trade. They're tired of day trading, but they want to be more aggressive. Spy T trading, Spy Tomorrow is an aggressive approach to trading. You can lose money, but you can also make a lot of money. I guess that's the attraction of aggressive trading. I mean, you can make a lot of money, but you know, there are risks. So somebody has some experience trading options, has watched Spy Tomorrow for a while, maybe paper traded for a while, and saw that, hey, this is working, and they want to know the inner workings and understand the confidence levels and how much pressure. I mean, we say up or down, but how strong of a signal is it? That can play a role in terms of the type of trade versus a Spy TA versus a Spy TB versus a Spy TS versus your position size. These are all considerations based on the pressure readings, and in that way you can, you know, evolve your trading over time with that information. Oh yeah, the ideal customer. Somebody who has experience trading options and knows why they want to become a member, not to go in and see what's there. That's not the right person. And we've had those people, and they've come in, saw what there, didn't know what to do, and realized they were just in the wrong place. It was not their style of trading. And that's why I recommend people try it out first. We give it away for free each day. If you need more information and you know why, that's when you join. Are there any risks from SPY-T trading? Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of a similar question from before. Obviously, the IV crush is a big one, but our own personal emotion. But that's also advantage because of the overnight swing trade. You know, day trader, you can mess things up getting in the middle of your trade. And, you know, we're our own worst enemy, especially, again, those emotions. But with that overnight swing trade, you buy, and there's nothing you can do until morning. You may stress a little bit if you think things aren't going your way, but ultimately you can't mess up the trade until morning. And then, you know, there's some skill that's involved in the morning when selling. Buying is important. Learning how to buy is important, but knowing how to sell well, that's going to make a big difference in your overall success with any type of trading. What are the future plans for SPY tomorrow? Just continuously improving the features, the benefits. I know that sounds kind of salesy, but that's the case. Just trying to give members more tools to help them become better traders, better SPY-T traders, and always adjusting the algorithm when needed. I mean, it's an algorithm. It's going to need adjusting. So keeping an eye on that, allowing for there to be less fade and allowing for the system to be as consistent as possible. We're never going to beat the days which news takes over and switches the mood in the market. Can't do that. Will not happen. But I can develop the most consistent and practical way to maybe understand how the market might open the next day.